Welcome back to Streamline Entertainment. It's Marvin speaking. I just want to go through a few points because, some people are asking why YouTubers and other investigators, TikTokers, Facebookers are chasing the Jay Slater case and what happened to him and want justice. And I'm just going to break it down why I think people feel strongly about this case and want justice for Jay.
The guy that we know that was with Jay at the Airbnb has basically come out with a statement saying Jay came to the apartment alive and he also left alive. He basically explained that Jay didn't have anywhere to go, all of his friends left him, so he actually did the guy a favour by letting him come stay. He also said that he doesn't let people he doesn't know stay with him. He said he helped a guy and now all of a sudden his face is all over the news. It's kind of mental, he said.
Is that because Ayub was basically questioned by Mark, was going to basically put his name out there as him being one of the people with Jay supposedly at the Airbnb, and this is why he came out. And the thing is, the natural way he just said about his time with Jay seemed just so smooth and normal. And did he honestly think that this was just going to go away and people were going to forget about it a few days? Because obviously, didn't he leave the next day with Rocky?
He said basically. He also states that he knows Jay through friends. Do you think he means Lucy? Allegedly. He said that he knew Jay through friends, so he wouldn't just let a randomer stay around. It's also been confirmed that it is the guy that was involved in related activities, if you know what I mean. Apparently a property in Cardiff got raided and they found a load of money, they found mobile phones, they found a lot of their things. He said that there was no arguments, nothing happened. He even gave Jay a blanket to sleep with. Nothing happened. Now, one of the questions I have is, I thought he had a hotel that he was going back to. What does he mean he had nowhere else to go? Also, second question is, this just only further makes me speculate on how well Lucy and this guy knew each other.
Well, as we know very well, we know that Lucy knows Ayub and have met up abroad quite a few times. We know that through Facebook, we know that through other avenues and investigators. And obviously, Lucy turned around and said she didn't know Ayub. My point is that everyone's trying to who were involved in the Jay case or spent the last day with Jay, or evening, they are trying to get themselves out of it and distance themselves so it's not talked about again. And the more they distance themselves, the more if they actually come out and told the truth and actually were really good friends of Jay, we wouldn't be talking about this case. We'd be talking about convictions and good riddance. Because like I said, what people got to remember, the large majority of people have families, have kids, have daughters, have sons, have younger ones who are going to want on holiday, and these people are still going to be out there looking for the next victim.
With the whole situation that was involved in Cardiff. He also states that he knows Jay through friends. Do you think he means Lucy? Allegedly. He said that he knew Jay through friends, so he wouldn't just let a randomer stay around. So he said that he spoke to the Spanish police and the Spanish police had told him not to speak to anyone. He then says that he hasn't spoke to Mark, the detective guy from the UK, because he doesn't have jurisdiction over there, so he hasn't done anything wrong, so he doesn't need to speak to him. He said everyone knows each other, we're all good friends. He said that Jay's a sound guy. He's pretty cool. We get on. I get on with him. He gets on with me. So yeah, very interesting.
I always think that in cases like that, someone who's trying to play the case down that there was no problems and you're free to go, and he flies away the next day, and apparently recent news has come out that he's got a place in Tenerife and lives there, and why he suddenly went home with Rocky is kind of odd. It is all very, very strange. He's a very, very strange character, having, young men or boys around him. For me, it doesn't actually make sense. I've seen some like weird videos with him with younger friends in clubs and, on drugs and really, really out of it. I don't think he's got any respect for people as long as he's using them. This is my thoughts on him, and this is one of the reasons why people like that need to be stopped and the key should be thrown away. Part two is just a story that really picked up from Evil Exists, and what he said about Lucy blames Jay. This is what I mean about when the case is going on and people keep talking about it. People, Lucy, Abe, Brad, Brandon, want to distance themselves. They wanted to go away so they can just carry on with their lives and say never mind. They've got no consideration for what happened to Jay. Somewhere on the line, even if they were involved, they know actually what happened to him. And I think Lucy knows everything and in what down. And she may have even been on that boat when things were going down. But I think she knew that island. She'd been abroad a lot of times. So she should have kept Jay safe, even if he wasn't safe. Or even if things got on top, she had the intelligence to get him out of there, but she didn't, because she wanted to save her own skin. It's as simple as that. So Lucy blames Jay.
Like I said in my previous video, where is the accountability from Jay Slater's friends, and the two men that he was last seen with? Ayub didn't even talk to Jay's family, but rather sent his condolences through a friend. Lucy, Brad, Jay and Brandon were together at the festival. It seems that Lucy and Brad have tried to share their alibis. Whether they're believable or not, I don't know. But Lucy's alibi is that she left the festival early because she was tired, and went back to her apartment, distancing herself completely from whatever happened to Jay after.
Well, I think she knew, I do think she was on the beach a little bit later, and I do actually think she knew what was going to go down, and probably knew, I think she thought personally that Jay was just going to take beats or get a kick in for losing a bag. This is what I think, but obviously things went to the next level and she had to ride with it because obviously she's part of the crew.
After she left, Ayub gave Brad an alibi, but notice how Ayub never refers to Brad by his name. It's always Jay's mate. He said Jay's mate took the keys and wanted to go back. He said absolutely nothing about Brad trying to convince Jay to go back to the apartment. Very interesting. Ayub sort of blames Jay by saying that Jay wanted to stay and party. But Lucy just took it a step further, and has already been called out by a number of online sleuths. She said in her latest messages that Jay told Brad he was taking a shortcut. She says she was trying to get him to come back, but he wasn't having it. Brad also tried to get him to come back to the apartment, but he wasn't listening either. The blame game starts.
Yeah, I totally agree. She still, basically, so Lucy May knew him to come back for ages. He was having none of it. After I went home, Brad then tried to get him home too, but he wasn't listening to him either. I think everyone has the impression we just left him, and that wasn't the case at all. He left the festival without telling us. We looked for him. Well, this is not. She went home, so she wasn't at the festival. I just don't get all the lies and twists. She went home early, so how does she know whether he'd left or not? He left the festival without telling us. We looked for him for ages in there. But why aren't you giving any times and dates? Give us times and dates where we're on about so we can actually relate to that as the public. This is what we want. When he left and went to go elsewhere, I still don't know. We don't know either because we haven't got a time schedule. Surely you would have documented everything to the police. Document it right there and prove your innocence. When I found him, I only spoke to him for a minute. Where were you? Oh my God, but where were you? What, on the beach, outside the club? Where, when you got back together? This is very, very important information for the family as well. Telling him to come back, but he said he was staying out and to tell them to go and find him. I went home and presumed he would finish his night on the strip with everyone and they'd go home together. His hotel was only 5 minutes away in a taxi, and like I said, he could have walked down the beach home, and I truly believe he did, and that's where his fate was. I still don't get why he went there. So many questions and no answers. Just hope he's bobbing around wherever he is and knows we will look for him and will miss him. Very strange message. Very, very, very strange message. Very, very strange. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. It gives the public, his family, true friends, no answers. His brother, no answers. This is just made up, I think, just to stop people talking about Lucy. You know what happened to Jay, and what we want is the truth.
Lucy goes on to say Jay left the festival without telling them. They looked for him for ages, and then found him somewhere else. She says why he left and went elsewhere, she still doesn't know. Now, I don't know about you, but to me it seems that Lucy is blaming Jay for what happened, and taking no accountability at all, for leaving her friend who according to the waitress looked unwell. She rather defends herself by saying everyone has the impression they all left him, and that wasn't the case at all. Regarding Brad, he told Isla the reporter that when he got a call from Jay, and they were laughing about where he was at. Brad said he was just coming out of the festival. Very interesting, because I thought he left earlier and went home. Why does he say he was just coming out of the festival?
Wow. Yeah. Good point. That was a great video. Please subscribe to Evil Exists. He also wants justice for Jay Slater, like all of us, Wax, Harsh, and many others out there, YouTubers. I always think in cases like this, they're hiding. They just want everything to go quiet, and they put messages out. Why not, come online, talk to people, prove that you're talking to the family and you're helping them. If we saw this, then I think this would die down. If the people who were involved or saw Jay last actually told us the truth, because the timelines don't add up what they're saying, and that message just completely doesn't make sense. All it says to me is that she wants to be 100 miles away from talking about it. A little clip which I found interesting by Wax and Filtered. Have a listen to this, people. This is very, very interesting.
Vaguely through a friend of a friend, his name's Ayub, and I contacted him to ask about it. And
wow, so she's claiming that Ayub, or whether you want to pronounce his name, but she's claiming that he lives in Tenerife. So if he lives in Tenerife, why did he need to hire an Airbnb in the mountains?
just to be like, wow, like, have you heard about this case in Tenerife? Like, what's going on? And to my absolute shock, Ayub told me that he was one of the 2 British men whose villa Jay had left that morning.
Villa. Did you see the state of that place? Villa,
The people at the centre of this whole entire thing. At this point, they hadn't been exposed at all in the papers. I had no idea that my friend was, or this person that I knew was connected.
They hadn't been exposed at all in the papers. So they hadn't exposed Ayub in the papers at this point, so we can only assume this is before Mark Thomas got himself involved.
It's this.
But what you've got to realise is some people like to blag a bit, but sometimes he may have thought that this Ayub's, obviously friend, the person he knew, was asking questions, about the case, he probably trusted them. But obviously this person is thinking, hey, what the hell's going on here? It doesn't sound right. It sounds suspicious.
In any way, shape or form. The media didn't know who they were at this point either. So I'm now going to play you the voice notes that Ayub sent me.
Okay, we've heard the voice notes already. You got to think, if something serious has happened, something that can actually put you away for the rest of your life, you ain't going to be telling anyone about it, regardless of how cool that person is.
He's right what he said there, but sometimes people are stupid enough to do that.
You know, you're not going to be telling them about it. You're going to give them the narrative and the story that you painted for the cover-up. It doesn't make any sense to do it any other way. What really jumped out to me and what that lady actually said is a guy that I know who lives in Tenerife. Now, guys, if Ayub lives in Tenerife, there's no need for him to be renting out an Airbnb for 1 or 2 nights.
We know that. That was one of the main points that the suspicion happened. And when obviously Mark and the news come out and said this list of criminal records, we knew there was criminal elements into this case, but it was about piecing it together. That was brilliant by Wax and Filtered the other day. Please subscribe to him. He's a brilliant YouTuber and makes sense. Some people can be very, very masterful of setting a stage that people don't know the story, and this is how it happened and it was just a tragic accident. But we know it was never a tragic accident, and he probably wasn't. If he was at the Airbnb, he wasn't alive. There are people have said, many messages have said, I have not really followed it up yet, that when they were supposed to be driving, Ayup and Rocky and Jay with them, a video come out of people saying that they hear chains, and someone basically squealing stop in the background, and quite a few people that have heard that. And I hope to God he wasn't tortured on that boat. I really do hope to God, because I think we're dealing with very, very evil people, and people that can easily lie. And when you're wrapped up in gang memberships, lying becomes a way of life. You know, being heartless becomes a way of life. You've got a one-track mind: earn money, save yourself. Selfishness gets people hurt, and these other people we're actually dealing with that has got no respect for life. It's just as simple as that. Maybe Brad, Lucy do know what happened, but the problem is they went along with other people because they were scared, and things went too far. But they should have told the truth, because they would have got more respect for it at the end of the day. But this tells me that they're still on the side of their bosses, and they will continue to work for these people.
9 o'clock saying the mate's gone missing. He rang them, said he left mine, and I'm off. And then he rang them 50 minutes later saying, yo, I'm in a fucking ditch, I need water. I think I'm gonna die. That's what he told the girl. I think I'm gonna die, and I'm on 1%. And then he sent the last location, and the last location was on some fucking path, a good 20 minutes behind mine, a good half an hour behind mine. Next thing you know, I'm getting a call. Next thing,
it just sounds as though they just concocted a story to go along with the narrative. And I think the Airbnb, that wasn't supposed to be booked. I think that Ayup booked it at the last minute for everyone to get their stories right. I do think Brad was probably scared and may have been hit by one of the gang to stay quiet. It's one of the, you know, I've covered a lot of cases, but this still is one of the biggest, because I think there's still so many questions that haven't been answered yet. It's like when we go back to Lucy, she's not actually giving us a timeline. They're just talking, you know, I'm going to be honest, they're just talking bollocks, to be honest. They really are talking rubbish, because we haven't had a timeline. If you give us a timeline that makes sense, we'll stop talking about it, but no one's actually given us specific times with run-ins to what's happened. We've had to, YouTube as investigators, private investigators, has had to piece this together because there's so many liars out there, and all we want is justice for Jay. Thank you for all the new subscribers and the old subscribers, and we will continue to fight to get to know the truth. Thank you.